Hi guys, Mr. Lego Ed here, and welcome to a new video. Yes, I've been away for a little while now, but I do apologise for that. It's just due to personal reasons. I just haven't been up for making videos and stuff. I'm not going to go into it, but yeah, I'm back, and that is the main thing. And today the video is about side decking, and specifically side decking against the meta, but just side decking in general and how it should be approached and all that jazz. So let's get into the kind of deck I've created, this 40 card deck of side deck cards. Now, the first one here is Vanity's Fiend. The monsters are Vanity's Fiend, Thunder King Ryo, and Kaiku, Electric Virus, Koto Dama, Max C, DD Crow, Swift Scarecrow, Droll and Lockbird, and Effect Fader. Now, these monsters are probably the main tech monsters you could use in a side deck, in my opinion, especially against today's meta decks. Now, I must actually say first, the approach of your side deck should have two very key things. One, it should be able to be implemented into your deck. A card that is in your side deck should be able to easily be implemented into your deck. Meaning, let's say if you played Vanity's Fiend, you may play Vanity's Fiend in any deck, like you might just put it in a Dark World deck, for instance. But the issue with that is that you're not going to be able to tribute summon as easily as another deck with Dark World and stuff like that. Vanity's Fiend is very specific to the deck you are playing. It's great against decks like Dragons and stuff like Vanity's Emptiness. It's basically a monster version of Vanity's Emptiness, which is really handy, but only some decks can play it, and that's what you've got to remember about your side deck, is that loads of these cards are great, but only specific decks can actually play them, because sometimes they will hurt. For instance, Dimensional Fissure and Macro Cosmos are pretty much useless in certain decks because you rely on your graveyard, so it may hurt your opponent, but it's going to hurt you equally, so there is no point playing. Secondly, a side deck should be approached as you may know what the decks are going to be played at your local tournament or YCS or etc. So say you went to a local tournament and you know that Harpies are a very big thing at the moment in your locals. There is no point playing side decking cards that are not good against Harpy decks, because you know that you're going to be facing a lot of Harpy players. So cards like Koto Dama, which are good against Harpies, you should be side decking more so than other cards, say Electric Virus, because you know there are a lot of Harpy players. So you've got to have those two things in mind when creating your side deck. Now, all these cards in here are really useful against pretty much most of the meta at the moment. And I'm going to go over a few of them, and not all of them. As you can see, they're all here for you to look at, and you can tell me in the comments below about certain ones, but it's going to take me forever to go over every single one. So I'll go over a few of the key ones and specific ones that I personally really adore. Now, the first one is Electric Virus. Electric Virus is used by most players these days due to just the wave of Dragon players, and the odd machine player, it can be the gadget player and stuff, it can be useful against too. So Electric Virus basically gets you the monster on their side of the field onto your side of the field. One Dragon type monster. By discarding it, you get their Dragon. Now that can halt their player from making a play, but it can also be a huge bonus in the mirror match, or if you can use machines or dragons within your deck, maybe for XYZs and stuff, then it's really useful in that. And if not, you can just nick it and get it into the graveyard by tributing it or something like that. So Electric Virus is an amazing card at the moment, especially how many dragon players there are, and there are huge. Like dragons are easily the biggest deck played at the moment. Like, I can see why they are the biggest deck at the moment, because I do believe they are one of the most versatile decks out there, especially with a side deck. You have so many options with a side deck when you're playing any form of the elemental dragons. So Electric Virus is really, really useful and pretty much mandatory now in your side deck. Another card I'm going to go over here is Koto Dama. Now, Koto Dama is good against Harpies, basically. Because if its effect here is, if there is a face-up monster with the same name on the field, destroy those monsters. Or monsters, should I say, if they're face-up monsters. And then it kind of halts if a monster is summoned or flip face up, there's the same as already on the field, the new one is destroyed, etc. So, and it has 1600 points of defense, which ain't too bad. So this is incredibly good against Harpies, because Harpies do share the name. So it can stop those, I think the name is the Hysteric Party, when it can basically summon as many harpies as you can from your graveyard and stuff like that. And a lot of harpies do actually change their name while on the field to harpy. So if they are currently face up on the field and they're all called harpy, they're just all destroyed. Incredible. And there is a rise in harpy decks at the moment, I believe. I'm seeing quite a few on Dueling Network and Dev Pro, and it's just an amazing card against harpies because it basically just halts them completely. You have this, and then if you can protect it with traps, etc., you can just destroy harpy decks. So I really do recommend this if you know there are going to be a lot of harpy decks at your locals or even your YCSs. Now, another card, all these other cards here, a lot of people are playing and talking about. Swift Scarecrow is good against the OTK decks. If you don't have room, there are better cards to put in there than Swift Scarecrow, but it's a useful card if you can fit it in. A lot of these cards here, if you can fit it in. Droll and Lockbird, good against those decks that like to draw a lot, spellbooks for instance, but there are better cards, so if you have the room, try playing around with them. A lot of these I'd say try playing around. Now, third card I'm talking about here is Soul Release. Now, Soul Release is a card that's really used for slow decks because it's a slow card because you have to really let the opponent like do some big plays before you can use it. Especially like against elemental dragons, you need all the dragons to be in the graveyard, and then you can use Soul Release so you can get rid of them. So you do have to let your opponent do some big plays to be able to like take full advantage of Soul Release. But it can be incredibly useful, especially against Lightsworn, which are going to have a huge rise, because you can play that Soul Release, keep banishing more and more of those Lightsworn monsters, and keeping that number so Judgment Dragon cannot come out, because it needs those 4 different named Lightsworns. So if you Soul Release, just keeping the same name in the graveyard, stuff like that, you can halt that Judgment Dragon from coming out. Now, another card I want to talk about here is XYZ Encore. A lot of people playing this. This is good against the Evil Swarm player. It's incredibly good against a lot of decks. It's a bit risky to play against, I don't know, like dragons and stuff, because it brings them out and stuff like that. But this is really useful for the Evil Swarm and XYZ heavy decks. But great card because it gets rid of those XYZ monsters and just like it just gives you peace of mind. And the card cannot be played in response to this card's activation, so it's incredibly useful, and it's a quick play, so you can play it on your opponent's turn. Again, there's other cards here like Dimensional and Macro and stuff like this, and Trap Stun as well. Trap Stun and Royal Decree. I play Royal Decree if you play a deck that doesn't rely on traps enough that you will have a lot of difficulty when it's played. Trap Stun is a better alternative if you're playing a trap heavy deck, because it means you can just stop your player from using those traps, but you can then play yours next turn because you need to take advantage. So there are a lot of cards here as well. There's stuff like Karma Cut, which I really, really highly recommend. Karma Cut's an amazing card, especially against dragons. Discard 1 card, select 1 face-up monster your opponent controls and remove it from play. Then remove from play any cards in your opponent's graveyard with the same name as that monster. Now, that's just incredible because you can just get rid of all those dragons in one, just all banish them. Now, obviously, they don't have a lot of difficulty when that card, they can get those cards back and stuff. But Karma Cut's again great against Lightsworn and stuff like this. These cards that can remove multiple cards of that name are great because a lot of decks are playing double or triple of most cards. A lot of decks aren't playing the single version of their top level monsters. They're usually playing triples and stuff like that. Judgment Dragon is being played multiples, so it's a great card against that. Another card I'm going to go over here is Anti-Spell Fragrance. Now this is great. Like, Curse of Darkness is amazing if you don't rely on spells and you don't play a lot of spells in your turn, because then you will take the damage and it's no point. But Anti-Spell Fragrance, on the other hand, can just stop that spellbook player from just doing the huge plays, and because they have to set them, and it means they have to wait till next turn. You can then use your MSTs, set your MSTs and such and stuff, because it does affect you as well. It does stop MSTs being played on it as well, so you always will get usually a turn out of it, which is great. The same with like Vanity's Emptiness, you usually get a good 1 turn halt out of it. And that's what I do recommend with side deck. A lot of time you can get that good like 1 turn halt, and then you can make your big play. The next card I'm going to go over actually is Retort. Now Retort I really do recommend. It's a cower trap, so it's speed level 3, And when your opponent activates a spell trap with the same name as the one in your graveyard, negate it and destroy that card. Now this is incredible in the mirror match, especially if you're playing spellbooks. You can just negate their card and then add that card into your hand. That's just an incredible play, because you've gained so much advantage from that. You've negated theirs and plus stuff. I think Retort's a really, really good card in the mirror match, especially for spellbook players in the mirror match. But there are other decks that use the kind of heavy use of spells and cards that you always played in those specific decks. So yeah, I really do recommend Retort in the mirror match. Now, all the other cards here I do recommend as well, like Debunk. A lot of people talking about Debunk and Divine Wrath. They just stopping those effects. Rivalry and Gozen, if you can play them, great, because they stop those decks that rely on varieties. Other cards like Mystical Ref Panel, it's a good effect because it can then switch it to you and stuff, and it's again kind of good in the mirror match. So Mystical Ref Panel as well. Soul Taker, because it's just useful to get rid of those key cards. It's a bit like XYZ Encore in the sense that you can just play it, destroy that big monster, that annoying monster, like Evil Swarm, Ophion and stuff like that. So Soul Taker is a great card system down if you're playing a lot of machine decks. Enemy Controller, just to nick that big eye, or even change the battle position, because battle position is really key, because a lot of cards these days are coming out with low defense, so getting them in defense mode just means you can attack over them. And yeah, but I do really want to just punch that point out there, that decks and that's not a good point, decks and side decking are different in the sense that a deck like a dragon deck, an elemental dragon deck, can be usually pretty much similar. All the elemental dragon decks out there will be pretty much similar, but side deck is the bit where you have the most customization, because it prepares you for that day. Like, if you know you're going to be facing a lot of a specific type of deck, you're going to heavily put that in your side deck, because it knows that when you face up to that deck, you then have your side options. And I really do recommend just thinking about what is being played at your locals, or what's going to be played at this YCS, and focusing in that into your side deck, because that's the deck that you're weak against. Usually the meta deck, if you're playing a non-meta deck, is the deck you should be trying to protect your stuff. So always think about the decks you're weakest against and side appropriately against them, and then think of the others later if you have room and stuff like that. So yeah, guys, I haven't really been playing loads of Yu-Gi-Oh! I've been playing here and there, and been watching a lot of videos just to keep my game up and side deck and stuff, knowledge up. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this. I'll be posting more videos a bit more regularly now. Give me your ideas about side decking, what you think about it, and more ideas. I've got 40 cards here for side decking ideas, so I'm guessing there's easily loads more and really odd ones that I haven't thought of. So give me your thoughts in the comment below, and as always, hope you've enjoyed this video, guys, and see you around. Cheers.